Welcome to the Ink and Pass podcast. I'm your host Elijah. This is episode 10. We did it. We made it to 10, two hands.
High
We only
five.
missed 1 week, so we're doing pretty good, I think. And to celebrate, I'm joined by just Ivan.
Just
Nobody else wanted to celebrate, I guess. Um,
uh,
and my question, it was going to be for so many people, but now my question for you, Ivan, is wait, is Lorcana fun again? But before we talk about it, how was your week in Lorcana?
it was fun. um, well, last week, I ended up wrapping up on blue yellow testing, which went really well. Um, I just like the, I guess it could be called control, but I just do like playing that deck. Starts out strong, doesn't necessarily have bad matchups into aggro, but it is the worst matchup. But if you find yourself playing against a mid-range deck or another longer game tempo deck, it's super fun just to wipe out the board, bring stuff back with Mufasa, and oftentimes I end up with like 20 ink, so I get to do whatever I want.
And use your ink
Um,
twice, because you are playing that Mufasa.
yeah, Mufasa's there more like a draw two engine almost.
Mhm.
And to absorb something, he's a four
Or
nine, I
9.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he absorbs a lot. This week we'll be testing Blue Steel with a touch of Darkwing Duck. Testing so far is fun. That deck's fun too. Definitely has a different play style to it because you have to play around the Goliath draw engine, and it really does tend to you either get it or you kind of brick, which is always kind of in its play style. But that's been pretty fun. The steel part of it definitely gives it a lot more, pew pew. Let me just shoot things and then hopefully refill my hand. But I like the Tinkerbell, I like the damage. Definitely had a much easier time into aggro on Monday or yesterday, yeah. Just because Tinkerbell and the damage throwing spells. So blue steel, let's see, 2-1, I think, yeah. 2-1 ended up yesterday. Only lost was to a boost deck, which I don't even know how it happened, but it happened.
Yeah, unfortunately Austin couldn't make it on today, so we don't get to hear
I
about it either. We
know.
don't get to even know how.
Just the ketchup and mustard deck got me.
Yeah, he's cooking. Um, as far as my week went, last week I had said that I was not having fun. So I felt like I was gonna change the way I thought about how I was playing my deck. And we'll end up talking about it a little bit later, but I think the way I changed my mentality about the deck kind of helped play into these longer games, which were more exciting to play. So, since last time we recorded a podcast, so last Tuesday, I have played two matches that I thoroughly enjoyed, like all the way through. And then I played like against you yesterday, where our first game was good, or yeah, and then I got high rolled or something. But before that, I played against you when you were playing blue yellow, and that was a really good game. And then I played against Marty on uh, purple yellow, and that was a very good game. And I don't
And it's
know,
funny because we're like, hey, he's thinking. He must be enjoying the game.
yeah, which is true, and that's like I've forced myself to like ink cards I normally wouldn't, or like instead of going more aggressive, what if I just like hold this card back and make sure I'm playing all of my Demonas and all of my Genies, even if that means keeping a extra Demona in hand when I play the first one. Um, so just like little things, like more of a macro game plan is what I was focused on. So that was like nice to see if it was working out. I think I went 1-2 and 2-1 though, so not great, but I don't know. I am having more fun than last week.
I think you made the point of do your decisions matter? And I feel like in those games, you really had to think about some of the choices you had to make. Like, I drew triple Demona,
How do I
which was
get
an
out of
interesting
this?
twist. Yeah.
It
And
was
it was perfect because I asked how much ink you had at the time. I think you had 9, which is
9, yep,
perfect for a
because I
Cobra,
had Cobra in hand, yep.
and ink. And
I
so
inked the
you
one
were able
Demona, played the one or
discarded
played
the other
the
one.
Cobra, discarded the one, and then played the third one.
Yeah, it was perfect. I'm like, yes,
But then like all
that
of
is the way.
my gas just started leaving the engine. But then that's when it gets interesting, and like what I liked about those games was I'm starting to have to put together this puzzle of like this is how many cards I have left in my deck. These are my power cards left. Oh, I have 2 Cobras left in my deck. I need to make sure I get the discard out of them. Or I have 2 Demonas left. I need to make sure I'm drawing 3 cards off of them. Um
I think that's what makes you a really good purple steel player. And ultimately, what makes you different from other purple steel players as well is that sometimes when it gets to that nitty gritty end game result, you know your deck, you know your outs enough that you can play to them. Because I feel like I would have seen a lot of players. I want to say you had a Cheshire Cat in your hand. They would have played the Cheshire Cat versus I'm going to hold this Cheshire Cat because if I get a Cobra, then I win. It's just those little intricacies that really sets that type of playtesting knowledge, whatever you want to call it, your instinct about it.
I mean
I have
that
20 cards in my deck.
yeah.
Like you know your stuff. I'm like, yes.
Especially the game that we played when I had like when I first looked at our like how many cards we both had left and you were like you're never going to get to the bottom. But I was just like making sure like I know I have 2 Cobras. How likely am I to see these Cobras? Um and like is that the only way because like even if I play the Cheshire, I'm giving you all of the tempo in the game and I don't think I win the race because now I've given you all of the tempo. So if I hold the Cheshire and try to sneak out the win with the Cobra, is that better? Uh, it ended up being the right play, but I lost because I didn't hit the Cobra. But
But it was still the
but
right
it was
play.
cool, right? It was like I have what I need in my deck to finish this. It's just a matter of if I actually draw it or not.
Playing to your outs is what we call it.
Exactly. Which I like those games. I like when they go long and you like all of your decision matters. All of your decisions matter, and like your macro game plan matters.
It was kind of like the old times when you would quest to 18. Like you're not questing to 20, you're questing to 18,
Mhm.
and you're just waiting for goat. Because you know, as soon as goat hits the field, there's 19, and then whenever it leaves, 20.
Right.
So like it was like that type of decision. Like, all right, I'm not trying to get to 20, I'm trying to get to 18 because I know as soon as I hit Cobra, boom,
Yeah.
game over.
I think.
Which did happen when I saw that game against Marty. You had
Mhm.
quest to 18, Cobra.
Yeah. I I think Purple Steel lends itself to being able to play a very macro centered strategy and like rewarding you for knowing what's left in your deck because especially these games, I was flying through the cards. Like against Marty, I had probably 10 to 15 less cards in my deck than he did at one point. Um because I'm seeing so many of them.
You're
Uh
cycling.
right. And
Yeah.
that way like the more cards you see, the more consistent you can make your game plans. And it's not just like a I'm going to play everything deck or I'm just going to make sure I hit my ramp deck and go from there. It's like a very I need to make sure I'm getting the value that I want out of the cards. So that's what I was focusing on this week and that's why I think it was ultimately fun. But what about you? Is Lorcana fun for you? Was it ever not fun for you, or are you just like I know last week you said you like playing all of the different decks. So,
Um, absolutely, it was not fun for me for a little bit there. Uh, right before this format, well, before this set, green blue format where it was just everywhere. I just ugh, not being able to play. So there's the thing: you can play your fun decks and still be competitive in this format. I can play red steel. I can play like I know blue yellow isn't exactly at the bottom of the tier list, but like you can play blue yellow. You can play yellow red, right?
mhm,
Austin going 3-0 yesterday. Like you can play these different decks and still have a good time and like deck strategies are viable. During that green blue era, it definitely seemed like nothing was viable. Like your board is getting wiped, and if your board's not getting wiped, your hand's getting wiped.
yeah.
It's like, this isn't fun. I can't do anything.
Right, you don't really
I
have
can't play my fun decks.
agency.
I can't even play my competitive decks. That was probably one of the worst formats for me. And to your point, it was because I felt like I didn't have any stay in the game, right?
Mhm,
Uh, Probably second to that or tied is Amber Steel format before set rotation,
okay.
where turn one Cindy, turn two something, I don't know, turn three Ariel.
Turn to Singer or like some decks
Yeah.
Shifrino.
Um,
Ariel,
but it
whole new
was like,
world.
let me dump my hand,
Right.
whole new world. Dump my hand, whole new world. It's like, well, I can't have a board. It's the same thing. I can't have a board because you're going to wipe it out with songs, and I can't have a hand because you're going to whole new world.
Mhm.
So like, I have no what do you like to call it? I have
Agency.
no agency in the game. And that's kind of the whole point of the game. It's one of the things that probably led to my exit from Yu-Gi-Oh! Even, where I remember thinking like, man, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day, and then coming back now, it's like you have no agency in the game. It's like, did you do your thing? Because I can't play the game now. Did I do my thing? Because now you can't play the game. And that it felt a lot like that, where it's just a one-sided chess game. And did I get my combo? Great. Now you can't play the game. I'm like, I don't. No one wants to play that. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I think
Um,
purple
yeah, go
mirrors.
ahead.
Sorry, purple mirrors are. I feel like they lend themselves to being very like interactive games where you have a lot of agency, but then like you add these other colors with broken stuff, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Ruby M enjoyer. Um, and back then, when it was one of the more popular decks, like it was kind of back and forth, back and forth. You know, and if it got too one-sided, there was always that check of be prepared. Like, well, don't get too excited, be prepared, and then we're going to reset back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Um, I enjoy interaction much more.
Yeah.
So
I think old purple steel versus ruby amethyst was probably one of my favorite matchups in the game because you're both doing very similar things, but one of you is pushing a little more, and you both have to try to navigate each other. And like I always have to keep in mind that you have be prepared, and you always have to keep in mind that I could be playing goats off the top.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like beast. Let me draw two cards, but am I going to Tremaine or Medusa your beast,
right.
etc. So it's like a constant back and forth.
I think board wipes
I enjoyed
also
it.
really help with that. Just
And I think at the beginning of the format, we were both like, "Ah, these board wipes ain't it, son." But like
I
Ralph, not a bad board wipe. Raging Storm, not are they as good as Be Prepared? Not really, but they're not as dead as I thought they were going to be. I thought there was going to be like zero, like absolutely
Raging Storm
zero Ralph.
especially. I think it's just powerful to have it in your deck and then have your opponent know about it because then they
Yeah,
have to play around it no matter what.
but I like that. So that's what
I
I
like that
enjoy.
too. No, I
Like,
like it a lot.
so yeah, that's my enjoyment level and where I was at. But now I feel like I can play whatever I want because again, the format to me is open. Um, I know dogs exist, but like dogs keeps the green blue in check, which again I enjoy because now I don't have to worry about it as much, and because there's more variety, green blue can't prepare for everything. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it
I
locally and on the more broad scale.
Yeah, I found locally when I'm having competitive games, I'm enjoying it. Um, so I like when people bring like competitive decks, but I think overall, I'm just a purple seal player. I don't like the dog's play style, but like I'll play it, I guess,
What's funny is
if I
that
have
four
to.
of us locally have dogs.
Just nobody
Like
wants
we
to
have
play
the
it.
deck,
I think maybe that
but
helps that you can like helps you be able to play anything because nobody really likes playing dogs. Nobody has been playing blue green, but
I so even when because I have blue green, but like it's not fun.
right.
Like, yeah, let me go into my Prince Philip combo or let me Clarabelle. Like, I'm
I'm
sure if I went back to revisit, like, we could come up with different strategies or whatnot. But like right now, that's just it. And it's just like, well, let me do this thing. And hopefully, if I get it, great. Wow. I Clarabelle into You're Welcome into Clarabelle, Shift Clarabelle.
right. Another no
Uh,
agency thing, like even as you're playing it, if you have it, you have it. If you don't have it, you don't have it, and it's just like the game.
and I'm just digging for it.
Right, exactly. Um, to be honest though, I think if I had a set champ this weekend, I would be playing blue green because I
Yeah.
don't think people locally are ready for it because nobody's been playing it. And I think it's a super strong deck. But speaking of winning a set champ, going on to our main
All
topic,
right.
how do you become the set champion? And Ivan, you are now going to a set champ this weekend.
Yeah, quite literally like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I
I was
saw.
like,
I was like,
hey,
oh, I
there's a
missed.
ticket available. And I'm like, okay, when is it? That was literally my response. Like, when is it? If it's on a Saturday, sure. Why not?
And the store's cool.
Um, yeah, honestly, I've been to that. So I think I actually don't know if this one's going to be at the old location or new location. I guess it would be new location, right?
I'm
Or are
not
they
sure
not set
when
up
new
yet?
location is ready. Shout out Gathering Game.
Shout out Gathering Game. Awesome staff, really friendly environment. Um, honestly, just it seems like a very much more relaxed environment because I get to see people that I haven't seen in a long time because it's on the other side of town, honestly.
Right.
Um, but to answer your question a little bit, how do
Yeah.
you become a set champ? Well, step one is going to a set champ, right?
And you're doing that. You're doing that.
I'm doing it. Check, check. But I tend to find that as someone who's been to a lot of set champs, that's kind of the deal. Like most people that I know that are set champs go to more than one,
That's a good point.
right? See, if you think about like me, you, Marty, like the people I can think of off the top of my head who are like consistently at these set champs, it's just a matter of consistency. Like we're probably going to be the ones that go to the most ones.
Mhm.
Um, So step one is signing up for set champs, figuring out where they are, and step two is going to many of them if possible, because you want to increase your chances, right? Increase
Right.
your odds.
So the reason I brought this up, besides like set champs coming up and it being relevant, as I was playing these games, uh, this week, I was putting together the pieces of how do I win a game of Lorcana. I was like, that's a good question to bring up on the podcast. How do I win? But then set champs are coming up okay, so not only how do I win consistently enough that I can win a set champ? And I was like, I'm going to use that as the main topic of the podcast. And then as I was thinking about it, I thought, okay, there are a couple things that go into winning a local event that's a tournament. And so we're going to go through them. One of them is what I call pre-flop, which is a poker term, which is everything you do before the game ever starts. All of your prep, all of your everything, what you know, your game plans. Then it's the actual gameplay during the event and how you adapt to the things you see around you. There's your post game mentality, whether you win or lose, how are you thinking about it? And then your overall tournament mentality for set champs. So going into the event, what am I thinking? And I think Ivan brings up a good point. When you're going into an event, of course you want to win, but sometimes there's bad variance and you're not going to win all of them. So going to a bunch is better. But then I think Ivan also brought up a good point where you just got to feel like you can sign up no matter what deck you're playing. And I don't really want to go over deck choice because I think if you just sign up and you feel comfortable with your deck, 100% you can take down a set champ. But the question is how. So why don't we start with our opening decisions, which is like pre-flop. So deck building, not deck choice, deck building. When you're thinking about going into an event in a current meta and you're building your deck, are you building more for tech cards or more like a tech decision? Am I changing my overall game plan to be better into the meta? Because like for me, I hate tech cards, but I will change my deck to make it draw more cards so I can play more cards after somebody board wipes me. Or it's a format where I need to make sure all of my top decks are good, which is what I've been doing recently. So I'm not a tech card fan, and I know my deck. I like changing my overall game plan. Why don't we do that? But Ivan, how about you?
Um, at some point in time, I decided that I just whatever deck I'm breaking, it needs to be able to handle early aggression. Because if there's one thing I can't, like, I honestly just can't stand is sitting there. I made this awesome deck. It's really fun to play and it's really consistent. We have a nice back and forth, except into the aggro matchup where I'm just watching you go Daisy, 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 or I'm watching you just play, I don't know, um, Christopher Robin into Pocahontas into more. I'm just throwing questers out there, just hoping to God I get to 20. And I just have to sit there like, oh my God, I have to try to outpace this. And all it takes is me losing the die roll or me just having a bricked hand. Oh, I couldn't ramp, which means I lose the game automatically. Like that feels bad. Is knowing that like no matter how well you prepare or how well you can play, that you just lose to someone throwing out just aggro, aggro, aggro. So I'm like, okay, the only way we can really do something about that is you got to prepare for it. So I made the choice that I just will not plan for that. So like no matter what I'm playing, it's gonna be built to not lose to aggro because that's just I don't enjoy it. And if it's with my last breath, I will not allow it. So
Right.
whether it's dogs or anything else, I don't care. I'm not losing the aggro.
So it's just make sure my regular deck is consistent and then put in whatever I need to beat aggro because you have a grudge.
Yeah. I personally have a grudge against
Right.
aggro.
I also
but
hate
but
aggro,
at the
so
same time, you don't want to I don't know, you don't want to put in all this time learning your play lines learning your matchups, doing all this and that, and then you just lose because they're just throwing out stuff. It's like, okay, well,
Right.
here we are.
All right. So, not tech card fans, but we don't like losing. So, let's try to, if we're going to lose, let's lose on our own terms,
Does
not
Tiger
because,
does Tigger count as a tech card?
yeah, but he's more of like a, no, yeah, he's a tech card because he's like
Okay.
specifically for aggro. Like I'm thinking like when I put in Cusco and Elsa when we went to that 2K, like the draw card Elsa, both of those cards were to make sure I had more cards in hand to discard to Cobra, and that wasn't like because of that was because of like the overarching meta, I think, but it wasn't like necessarily uh a tech card for a specific matchup. It was just like I want my game plan to be a little more card draw centered. So
So
that's
if we
like kind of
tie
what I'm
this a
thinking of.
little bit, yeah, if we tie this a little bit back to what you were saying, pre-flop, preparing, another aspect of it, which you might touch base on already, is you got to know your local meta. You got to know what's around.
Mhm.
If I know Eli is going to a set champs, guess what? I better be ready to play purple steel. How's my purple steel matchup?
That is
And
true.
there's been literally times where I'm like, I just auto lose to purple steel, but I hope to not play Eli, and then we get paired round one, and I cry.
Right. It's a good point. If we're focusing specifically on set champs, you can metagame your locals, and if everybody's playing aggro, just play something that beats all of the aggro decks. If nobody's prepared for aggro, play aggro. But I really don't want to talk about deck decision because I feel like a lot of people go to set champs and they just want to play the deck that they like. And I think as long as you know your matchups and know your locals and know how you are into them and have a game plan for what you do into all of them, you should be okay with whatever deck you choose. Unless it's like complete trash. Like, sorry, red green players,
Green
but
red.
yeah. Exactly. Okay, and then
Guess what? I'm bringing the set champs.
something I don't feel like a lot of people bring up is mulligans are a very pre-flop decision. You should know your mulligans before you go into a match if you know what they're playing.
Or even if you don't,
True, you should know your matchup spread and know how you're mulliganing into everything. So like into
dogs.
a aggro deck, I need to make
Yeah.
sure I'm playing like hook on one and maybe two one drops, and I really don't actually want to have strength in my hand in case they Mowgli. So, but also that depends on going first or second because like if they're going first and they Mowgli, like that's kind of better for me. It really depends. But you should know these things before you go into to a matchup, and I think that should be part of your game plan into everything. You should practice how you mulligan into all of the decks that you think you're going to
It's
be
within
playing
your
against.
control.
Right, exactly. This is a thing that you will, before anything happens, you haven't seen anything, or you know the matchup, you look at the seven cards, and you're making a decision not based off of anything they've done. This is just, what have I thought about? What is my game plan? What am I like? If I have a Cobra in my opening hand, I'm sending it because I know I need it later when I have more cards to discard to it. So it's things like that, like making sure I have the cards that I want to see now and not later in my hand, and like whether or not you need those power cards like your strengths or your tramps or you're playing blue green and you know your mulligan is always I need ramp and you're sending seven. But that is still a game plan. It's just a fairly consistent one that they have to roll out. But that's something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about is like you should focus on your mulligans because it is part of your overall strategy into each of your matchups.
I will give the game designers a bit of credit on this a little bit because your mulligans now include whether or not you go first or second with the Christopher Robin and the Liquidator, the underdog effect. Because that does affect it a little bit. Because if you're going first and your opponent drops a Christopher Robin on their turn one, now you have to think about that during your mulligan. It's like, do I have this hand that can handle a Christopher Robin on turn one?
Right. If they go second and they play an angel, and am I gonna get blown out by a strength on turn two? Or are they just gonna Akud play a 4-drop, and am I ready for that? But that's a good point. Alright. I feel like that kinda goes over the before you actually get into a game. But before you show up to a set champ, make sure you get a lot of reps. Just that's the biggest thing. The more reps you get, the more you know. The more hands you go through, the more you know what you're looking for. Just play, play, play. And I think that's what Fight Club helps with, even though there are some drawbacks where people are playing more fun decks and then it's less competitive at locals. But you want to make sure you get those reps. The more comfortable you feel with a deck, the more extra percentages you get.
Yeah.
There will be times, I have it written down here, there will be times where you are caught off guard. When you're playing and somebody across from you plays a deck you are not ready for, take a sec. Think about what you have to do now. Think about your game plan into them if you have a game plan. If it's something completely whack, if somebody sits across from me from red green with red green, I could fumble and lose because I just don't know what they're playing. So you can take a sec, think about like their card pool, think about what they could possibly be playing in this deck. And during your first game, even if you're losing, make sure you are figuring out like what they want to do and how you can interact with that. Anything you have to add to being caught off guard?
Mm, this goes back to something I mentioned a while ago where I do play those off cards. I do play those off strategies because I don't want to get caught off guard. So if I do come across the blue green deck or the red, I don't know, red blue deck, like something that you don't see too often. Like I know a little bit about what power line does now, right? Because I've played against it. Or I do know what the David Xanatos version of the deck with the Wreck It Ralph. Like I play these decks because I want to know, okay, I've tried this, I'll tech this, I'll do this. This is what makes it consistent. I know this is the pain point. There have been plenty of times online and Fight Club where I'll win because I know what's in their hand and I'll play around it. And they're like, how did you know? Well, because I played that deck.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're holding on to. I know what you're waiting for. Because you can play around Raging Storm, you can play around Shark. Do they have the one item that gives Shark Rush? Do they play the item that lets them draw when they boost? How many do they play? Like all these things are like you should know what these like. It's always a good feeling when you're playing something and your opponent has to read your card because you're
Mhm.
like, okay, they
They
don't
don't
have
know
any
what they're
experience
doing.
with this. They don't know what's going on. The
Yeah.
opposite's true though. If
Mhm.
your opponent plays something, you're like, I have no idea what that does, and you're like, great, I got to read that.
Right. Then you're at a disadvantage. Like, if you don't know what's going on, the more chances you are just gonna get blown out. I think that's something that happened with Mother Gothel too, in Ruby Amethyst. People don't know how to play against that card. They'll be like, yeah, I can just tap everything down here. And then they get hit with like a bunch of Mother Gothel's shenanigans and they get blown out for no reason. If you're playing against Darkwing Duck, you need to know that there's an item that makes all of your characters villains, so he can challenge them. That's something you should be aware of.
And the fact that he's a 6'8".
Yes, true.
Yeah. Uh, I agree.
Nice. Yeah, I think knowing what your opponent could possibly do is extremely beneficial. And we see that with the meta decks. It's just like you can take a second and think about that when you're playing against a not as meta deck. And then
It also messes with your opponent's mind. You
yeah.
ink one bell, and they're like, Bell? Because they usually, so when the math works out with Cheshire Cat, you're like, all right, 2 damage,
Mhm,
whatever. You see a bell, you're like, oh, great, I got to keep an eye out for 3 damage transferred
mhm.
now. That's a possibility. So, like, just keeping track of that stuff is also
If I play one Along Came Zeus, you need to start playing around that. It's interesting. And like I don't know. We're gonna cut some of this because I feel like I'm rambling.
okay.
Maybe I won't. Maybe leave it in. Editor.
Leave it in.
All right. And then I think one of the biggest things and something that I need to learn from myself, like listen to me. What's the saying? Uh do what I say, not what I do. Because
Hmm.
I think you should make sure that you don't get tilted after a game. I get extremely tilted sometimes. But I think I usually get the most tilted when I realize that there's something that I did wrong during the game that just completely threw it. So I think I have this like mix. I think when you lose a game, even during a set champs, because you can lose one and still go all the way. Like you need to center yourself. Either if it's early, just be like, okay, I need to keep pushing through to try to get through the rest of this and try to make top cut. Or if you already have that, think about like, oh, what did I what did I do wrong? What could I have improved on? Just during that game, maybe it'll help you out later during the tournament. But if you get tilted, it starts snowballing, then you start making more bad decisions. And I feel like that's a thing that happens everywhere. It happens when you're playing video games, it happens when you're playing sports. It's very good to keep yourself centered and make sure you're making good decisions because this is a very decision intensive game. And the more you focus on your past decisions, the more it's going to affect your future ones. Anything you want to say about wallowing in your sorrows after a game?
Don't give up on yourself after one game. You can lose game one in a match and
Very
still
true.
come back. There's been plenty of times where I've lost game one and I came back to win. I've also won game one and lost the next two. Like it's a game. It's a set of three, right? Um, Try not to put too much on one game. It's one thing to get beat once. It's another to get beat twice, right? Those are two completely different things. Um, Top decks happen. High rolls happen. That's just part of the game.
Yeah, that's card games.
Um, those are just things that you sometimes don't have control over. Um, there are some scenarios where you're like, I'm okay as long as they don't have a Royal Storm and you just go, or Raging Storm, and you just go all out because you're like, I have no choice but to put this pressure on.
Hmm.
Or you can say, hey, I'm in a really good spot. If I get Raging Stormed, I'll actually be okay if I just invest this into my board. So, like, there's going to be little nuances of things that little decisions you can make. Um, and then later on, you can reflect on those. Was that a good choice? Should I have been more aggressive? Stuff like that. That's great. But if you're like, I lose to a top deck Giant Cobra on a 2% chance and it actually happens, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, that's a very
Oh,
good
that's
point.
Laura. Say hi.
Hi, Laura. Um, that's a very good point. If you get hit with the bad side of variance, If you play into the only out they have is a Raging Storm, and they play Raging Storm, but you had to play like they didn't have it, you made the right decision. And sometimes that just happens. And yes, it's tilting, but you need to just realize that you made the right decision. You're a good player. We have faith in you. And you can still take it all the way. And
Yeah, shuffle up and go to game two.
yeah, on the bad side, while there's the bad side of variance, there's also the good side of variance. So as long as you're maximizing your numbers on the good side, that's all you can do. I had something else I wanted to say too. Oh, because that goes back to your point from earlier about the more set champs you do. You want to sign up for a bunch of them. The more set champs you do, the more times the good variance will happen and the bad variance will not. And that's just how math works. The law of large numbers. So you can't get discouraged because you lost the one game because of bad variance. Because there's always
I
the good
always
side
look
of
at it.
variance.
Yeah, I mean, um, look at the pro players and DLCs. How many times does a pro player lose at a DLC? Top 64, top 32, not even day two. Like, and these are people who are like at one point in time won a DLC or won an event of some sort, but they miss out on day two or they lose in top 32 or whatever that may be. So like they don't think about or stress about the losses. They simply improve and keep trying and keep trying. But they also go to several different DLCs. So they're increasing their chances, they're improving. And you can do the same thing just on the set champ level. Like improve.
Yeah,
Um,
like I'm good enough to win a DLC, I just haven't gone to enough of them.
yeah,
But like that's the mentality you can have. I'm good enough to
why
win this
not?
set champ. I just need to go to enough of them. I really want this Tinkerbell playmat. Please get me this Tinkerbell playmat.
Funny enough, I don't want it. I
What?
know.
Well, you
Subject for
have
another
your
time, I
playmat
guess.
that you're
I have my
forever
new
gonna
playmat.
play, right? It's trash.
You're just like me.
Okay. We kind of
What
covered
else you
what I
got?
wanted to cover, like post-game mentality, like make sure that you stay centered, your tournament mentality. This is a big event. One game loss, one round loss does not dictate your entire event. So you just go next, shuffle up, go next. And keep playing. Don't drop. Keep playing. Unless you like gotta go somewhere. But the more reps you get in your local meta, the better you're gonna do. Alright. I feel like we don't have that much else to say. I feel like
Nah,
I feel like we're kinda good there. There's only two of us. It's a quick one. Thank you guys for listening. Please leave a question in the comments for question of the episode. We would love to answer it. I would love to answer one.
happy episode 10.
Happy episode 10. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. See you next week. Bye.